just
here.
wanted to say one quick thing about wide receiver evaluation, and I'm not going to sit here and say that and trash on Bill Belichick for his drafting at the wide receiver position like I'm the end-all be-all of wide receivers in the draft, right? Like, maybe I don't know any better than anybody else, but what they are doing is at that position in terms of scouting and evaluation clearly is not working. And it's also development of the players, too, once they get here.
Right.
So this needs to be, from that position's perspective, I think, an entire overhaul of how they approach the position altogether, how they evaluate it in the draft, how they kind of, the pecking order of things that they care about when they look at a prospect. Bill Belichick himself said to me last year that we didn't draft N'Keal Harry to run end arounds. It's great that he's good at it, but it's not why we got him in the draft. Similarly, he'll say, we didn't draft him to block. It's great that he can block, but he didn't draft him to block. Okay, well, then what did you draft him for? And what was your evaluation? So the two things I think coming on from Belichick here are both related, and that is that he is typically one of the best people in the entire world at realizing his own flaws, realizing, the team's flaws, and being able to identify those things and being able to move on from flawed personnel. So in my mind, this definitely needs to be a situation where he realizes that the skill position evaluation, both from a pro level and from a college level in the draft, is nowhere near good enough, and we need to rebuild that entire philosophy.
Yeah, what's amazing, too, is you look at the guy who also came out of the same school that Harry was, Brandon Ayuk, who was taken by the Niners this year. He actually does the things that I think they thought Harry was going to do coming in this year, which is just and it's not just Harry. You could say the same thing with Sony. Sony was supposed to be a guy who was going to be that 3-down back who'd never have to come off the field, who'd be a weapon in the passing game, great with blitz pickup and all of that. And he's not. He's a one, and with explosive, game-changing, like get into the open field, and he's an early down plotter. So, and again, that could be injury related as well. But they definitely are misfiring in their evaluations. What they think they're getting something else. The thing with Belichick that worries me a tad too is the comment he made. I forget to whom a year or so ago, a couple years ago, maybe in a CBS interview about, no, it was with Saban. Was it with Saban? We're talking about he likes to bring in guys he likes to coach. That's dangerous. Okay. That's dangerous in any profession. If you're a boss somewhere and you really only bring in people that are like you, that do all the same thing, that you can jive with, you can talk fantasy football with, doesn't mean that's going to make the best roster for you. You need to, you've got to take the pain in the ass, high price talent every once in a while and develop him. You have to recognize that not everything is perfect. I think you're sacrificing a lot of talent to bring in Patriots type guys. Then you bring them in and you have them not even be that type of guy that you thought, being able to process things quickly and learn. I mean, I get the idea behind it is if the guy is smart and knows where he needs to be, who cares if he runs the 40 in one tick slower than the other guy? He's going to get there faster. He's going to see everything faster. He's going to be where he needs to be more often than the other player. That makes sense. But I can't see how you look at Harry and think that he was going to be that guy, because not only is he lacking in the physical traits that we thought he had, he seems to not really know what he's doing out there either.
Yeah, so, as I'm listening to you make these points, these comments are coming in, and I'm just getting triggered. So I think we should probably just wrap it up before I start yelling at some people, because to sit here and say that they thought that they were going to have Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown going into the season, and that's why they weren't going to have to lean on their first-round pick at wide receiver. I mean, what are we talking about? They drafted N'Keal Harry in the first round
to be the guy. They drafted him to be A.J. Brown.
Don't draft a wide receiver in the first round to be a complementary piece. You draft him to be Des Bryant. You draft him to be Calvin Johnson. You draft him to be Julio Jones. That's why you go and you get a wide receiver in the first round. The Patriots failed that evaluation. They failed it in the draft. We all talked about it right after they made the pick, during the pick, before the pick, after the pick. Now, A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Hollywood Brown. I can go right on down the list of players that were better than N'Keal Harry before we even got to the NFL, that we could all look at and evaluate as receivers and say, these guys are better than N'Keal Harry is. And yet they took N'Keal, and that to me is just it's still mind-blowing to this day. And I like Nickeil as a player. I like him as a person, but it continues to be mind-blowing that was the evaluation. That was their takeaway as the Patriots with Bill Belichick and Nick Caserio and Josh McDaniels watched all that college tape and said the best player at this spot in the draft is Nickeil Harry. And that to me is still absolutely stunning and shocking.